All righty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another market update. Hope everybody had a lovely day. And with that being said, let's dive in to the TA. All right, guys, we have a PCE print coming out tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time before the open. That is going to be moving the market. The market is either going to pump from here, it's going to hit it with the gap and go, or we're going to fade off of that news down to new lows. I'm not sure which one it's going to be. You're not sure which one it's going to be. I'm going to point out some context clues here in today's video. All right. So first thing I'm going to point out, guys, we have a bear flag on all four of the major indices here. You had a little bear flag that was building out over here. We thought, you end up moving up. I stopped seeing them post online. But I'm just going to tell you right now, all right, this move up over here. I know people stop posting about the bear flags because, anybody getting bearish down here got their face ripped off. But at the same time, it's still here. All right. That's just because, Twitter don't want to post about it no more does not mean it's not here. We have that going on. And then you come over here to VIX. And I'm just going to point out you've been rejecting here at the 4-hour short-term EMAs. You are now looking like you want to pop above this 21 EMA here and you want to go for a ride. In the hourly time frame, you can literally see we've just been basing out. You reclaim the 18 level over here. You've just been basing out over here. And people say you can't do TA on the VIX. I'm telling you for a fact you can do TA on the VIX. It works better than you would expect. All right, 4-hour RSI ended up getting oversold. We mentioned it literally right as we were sitting down here, whenever that video was, that, hey, doesn't have to happen right here, but if you stay down here for a few days, we're going to start looking for VIX to pop up again. That's just how it goes. And, here we are. VIX is starting to pop up again. It's looking constructive. If it can get above 1950 brings 22 bucks. That's when you have volatility really returning back into the equation. You can get past this area right here. All right. So if you can get above 1950, take out 20 and start heading up to 22 bucks over here. I don't know why I got two alerts over there. Well, it's technically at 22 bucks. There's no dollar amount over here on the VIX. It's not traded like that. But if you could see this thing start going, I think we can return back down to the lows on the indices. You have a bear flag over here on QQQ. You have the same look over there on SPY. You got VIX looking like, it's looking pretty perky here. You see what's going on in the weekly candle. And I did just show you the 4-hour candle. You come over here to IWM. You already broke down for your little bear flag, rising wedge action you got going on there. You can see the break and retest over here on the hourly time frame. You come over here to DIA. What do you have? You have a very similar structure going on here. So I'm not saying these are going to end up playing out, but these are the context clues I'm going to point to that are suggesting, we could be breaking down tomorrow. Now, at the end of the day, we break down. All right. It's not important of, the gap down or gap up because we don't know. It's, what comes next. All right. How is the market going to treat this PCE print? How is it going to react to that gap down? All right. Because of all these bear flag like structures here, I'm just going to say this is your controlled buying here. I think you gap down, you get a return back to the impulsive selling. That's just my opinion there. I don't think you're going to sell off too bad here. I think you just kind of sell back down to lows. We talked about this, all right? I'll just remind everyone. We talked about, this scenario where you're going to get this dead cat bounce here. I thought you were going to be getting a little higher over here. You want to stall out around the 21 EMAs across the board. And then you would be coming down to put in a new low over here. It's probably going to be a marginal lower low. You're going to have the bullish divergence here on the daily RSIs across the board, on all the Mag 7 stocks, on the chip stocks, on the 4 major indices over here. You're going to develop these bullish divergences over here on the daily RSI. And you're probably going to get, everybody going crazy again. If you take out this low, you're probably not going to undercut it too bad over there. You're probably going to have a higher low over here on the daily RSI. All right. So, don't act like this is out of nowhere over here. This was, just because we didn't make it up to this zone over here does not mean this is out of nowhere. This is, if you make it back down here, this is that exact scenario where everyone's going to freak out and we're going to have a daily bullish divergence here on, almost every single stock we watch here on this channel. That is going to lead to a big boy bounce. All right. It's not going to be what we just got where, you got this controlled buying for, 2 weeks here. right into the, short-term moving average over here, reversion to the mean in the form of a bear flag, and then you go down. Now you're probably going to have a return back to the impulsive buying. I don't know exactly how that's going to play out, but you can see over here, you undercut the low, you got to bounce off, slightly swept the low over here, got to bounce, and then you sold down to a new low. And from that low, all right, you only went another 2.6% lower. That would be equivalent to us, going over here. You come down here, everybody loses their freaking mind because SPY is now at 540. Now, I do understand that's a big boy move right there. All right, that is a big boy move. But it's not a reason to, be crapping your pants over there. This is what we talked about. Okay? So I just want to get that out front there. I do think we have structure to sell here. I think that's what we got going on. But I'm also going to give you some tickers to focus on if that is not the case. All right? And, stay tuned. That'll be the second half of the video. Let's just go over the levels over here on SPY and QQQ, and then we can go over the Mag 7 stocks and what stocks the market wants to pump up PC and it has a positive reaction to it. What stocks are going to be the ones with strength heading into the event and what can really pop off that event. All right. So support over here on SPY is just going to be 564.02. Underneath there, 559.11, 554.87, then 549.15. On the upside, resistance is 570.57, 573.69, and 576.41. Take out here, of course, you're coming up here, right? If PC wants to gap up here, you're probably just going to take out this high and continue on up to 580.91. At that point, we have a larger bounce here, and we're probably going to get all the way up to 590 over here on SPY before, having that next sell. But that's, it really does depend on which way this thing wants to, like, how is the market going to digest this data? We don't know. All right. So what do we like to do on this channel? We prepare for both of the scenarios. I do my best to prepare you guys for both these scenarios. I try and do this technical analysis without my bias. Sometimes it shows, but at the same time, I do my best to cover both scenarios and give you levels to go off of, and invalidations and stuff like that. So I hope you guys do see that, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. All right, now coming over here to QQQ, what are we paying attention to, guys? Same bear flag looking structure. Underneath 580.25, today's low, you're going to have 476.28. Underneath there, 472.41, 467.01, and then you make a new low and come down to 459.17. Not saying that happens, but that is the level-to-level price action that you're going to be paying attention to. Now we're going to come over here to the hourly time frame. I'm going to put on an extra level right here, okay? On the upside, break above 485.84. That's where you found sellers this morning. Very simple, guys. The short-term moving average over here, we're talking the 15-minute and the hourly. Those are your intraday time frames. Like I use the 5-minute too, but if you really want, the big picture point of view here, intraday, typically we get some confluence going on as these things retest places. And that's exactly what we got going on over here. It's like the same thing over here. All right. Don't get bullish right into the short-term moving averages. Expect the rejection. Well, we also had a key level going on right there. So, a lot of times it works out like that. But if you do have the 9 EMA and the 21 EMA here on your chart, on the hour and the 15-minute time frame, you get a real good picture of price. All right. And, oftentimes you can just catch these trending moves. All right. You see the reversion to the mean happening in real time. All right. And whether you catch it or not, you're at least getting to track it in real time. All right. And you have the data that you need to make some good decisions. All right. But right over here, 485.84, get above there, 489.02, and then 491.37. And then we're just coming up to 494.49, which is going to line with the 200 daily moving average. All right, now we come over here to IWM, and like I pointed out, the thing already started breaking down from this, but if this thing just gaps up, then screw this whole pattern. All right, gap up, take out 208.84, then you're coming up here to 213.97, then you're going to have the 200 daily moving average. It's sitting right here at 216 to 217. I do still think that's something that's going to be tested, whether that, comes when we make a new low and then we rally back on up there with the big face ripper rally or not. It's just it's an area of interest over there, okay? But IWM, guys, if you lose 203.75, we're talking 201.99 from there, and then underneath there, 199.34 and 196.70. On the upside, let's just say the thing opens flat and it wants to take out 206.02. From there, you're back in this little range you got going on here, all right, 206 to 208.84. And then you're just going to be watching that 284. That's your key spot. Break above it, you unlock a larger move. You could see that very clearly over here on the daily time frame. You break above this area, this becomes your higher low into a higher high, and then you're pushing level to level price action. You're going to 213.97 and 217.37. All right, come over here to DIA. Like I said, very similar structures as the other three major indices here. You are holding 423.14, but let's just say you gap down here, you come up, retest today's low of 421.46. We're probably going to start selling lower, right? The next support from there is going to be this low of 414.19. All right. I don't trade DIA. I will gladly cover DIA, but because it's one of the four major indices. But yeah, I mean, as far as clean price action goes, just stick to SPY and QQQ. I give you plenty of levels and technical analysis that is respected. And the way you tell if your levels are respected, guys, do they bring your freaking reactions? Do they bring your reactions? That is easy as that. All right. If they're not bringing reactions, you got to adjust your levels. It is what it is. All right. And over time, you're just going to be able to adjust these things in real time and fall price action on your own. All right, but those are the four major indices, and I will just give my reminder of what we talked about in the very beginning of the video, that VIX is definitely perking up here, definitely consolidating right here, basing out. If it breaks above 1950, it's, it has a possibility of getting back up to 22. And if you get back up here, this thing's having a full-on another spike, in my personal opinion. So that is just something to keep in mind. You also did have, I think it was 400 or 500K come into VXX calls over here at the 50 strike, whereas you're not trading over there. So, clearly a PC bet. But that is actually for next year's expiration. So, yeah, someone's taking a bearish. I mean, honestly, you just had the tape being pretty bearish today overall. But, yeah, I'd say Tesla most bullish today. NVIDIA easily the most bearish today. And honestly, this is what I've been saying is going to be your key to the market, all right? If NVIDIA over here, decides to now gap up, and, if you gap up into this area over here and you end up closing out the week over here, 116, 117, you're probably going to start pushing back up to the highs next week. All right. So the big reaction that we need to see happen is tomorrow. We have to see how, this is all going to unfold. After we had yesterday's real ugly sell there, it was going to unfold in, one of two ways. You're either going to be continuing back down to the lows, or you're going to confirm that this is a higher low. And in order to see that, guys, you have to be patient. All right. So after you have a day like this, you just it's clear as day breaking structure. You just have to wait to see, is this over here? Is this one giant bear trap, higher low opportunity here that then gets bought up? Well, you could blindly buy with the hopes of that, but there's nothing telling you that that's going to be the case. You just have to wait for these things to actually develop on the charts. And the other scenario here, guys, is you're not going to hold 110. Let's come down to the hourly time frame. It's looking pretty ugly over here. The other scenario, I actually wanted to take out puts today. That was telling my buddy yesterday. I was like, yeah, NVIDIA puts off the retest of our zone over here. Yeah, no, I did not end up doing that. But I will definitely point out here, 1 hour RSI, it's oversold. You got these divergences building out, but at the same time, you just had the bearish break and retest off of our key 113.22 to 115.14 zone. This is what we were paying attention to the whole time. This was going to be your key. You needed to find buyers. I think the level was up here. I took it off the chart, but the level was up here around 118. You need to hold there, or you're going to start coming back down here. You don't want to break that level because that opens you up to down here. And once you're down here, it opens you up to all of this, just being a base before going lower. You didn't want to see it for the bulls, but you did see it. So now we're talking about it, right? So now we're underneath there. Expect rejection. Unless this thing can really, reclaim that zone, then this thing's probably going to take out the low. And if NVIDIA is going to end up taking out the low, then we're probably going to have the market being dragged lower. Everything has this bear structure going on here, and NVIDIA has been our key the whole time. It is, the weakness after, over here, we were probably going to, unless you hit it with the gap up the next day, you're probably going to at least be, continuing lower. And then Friday over here, again, if you gap up into the high of today's candlestick, okay, so the high is all the way over here at 114. If you gap up over here, then we can honestly see, a gap and go kind of day. All right, we could see something like that shape up, and that would make the weekly candle over here look a lot better. But you know, at the time being, you had your reversion to the mean here. I thought you were going to make it up to the 200. I don't have it on the chart right now. But over here, you had the 200 DMA sitting there around 127.67 resistance. You had the golden pocket. You had the weekly moving averages. As we could see, you got dragged down, you know, yesterday. And yeah, the weekly candle looks screwed. So, I mean, if you can recover tomorrow and you do end up closing 116 to 117, this weekly candle is going to look a lot different. A lot different. You're going to have that nice lower wick over here, and you're going to, again, be defending the zone over here. You see how, you know, you lost it. You found buyers. You lost it over here. You reclaimed it. All right. And then you retested it, and boom, you failed. All right. But if you do end up closing the week out, you know, again, 116, 117, you get that pop tomorrow at PCE, then this is going to look a whole lot better. And like, we got to completely be open to the scenario that all of this sell right here on QQQ was your higher low. All right. Like, that's just how it's going to shape up. And the video over there is going to be the key. It really is going to be the key. But I will point out this line right here, 36, 37, wherever you want to put it at. Guys, even throughout all this crap that's been happening over here, you still got near 10% bounces when this thing was tested. It got tested this day right here. The next day it opened. What do you get? An 8% move. All right. Then you come down here this day right here. I understand you went lower from there, but still give it literally 2 weeks. You know, the stat here that I, you know, have just personally went back and back tested is 1 to 2 weeks. You see a 10 to 15% move over on NVDA. Every time over the last few years, you've hit this spot on the daily RSI. Even though this thing has been, you know, ugly and it led the market lower over here, I could guaranteed tell you that that condition actually held. All right. Like, you know, it's not going to be perfect. It really wasn't. You got pretty close to it over here. All right. You hit it, you know, intraday. You hit it on the morning over here. Remember, you have almost an 8% move. All right, the next day you're sitting down here, you know, even then you got a 5% move, but then the next day is low. If you just waited, you got an 8% move. All right, and then you hit it again on this day right here. I know you went lower. At the end of the day, you did end up getting that over 10% move over the following week. Like, if this thing comes down here to this spot again, 35 to 36, not 35 to 36, 36 to 37 on the daily RSI down here, even if you're at a new low, downside is probably limited. And I'm just going to say, buy a month out in the video calls. And you're probably going to be making money within the next few trading sessions. You know, it's something as simple as that. Don't got to overcomplicate it. I know, you know, everyone thinks the market is falling off a cliff here. But I'm telling you, Twitter's getting bearish again. And I just, you know, I don't think that's going to align with everyone getting bearish and we're just going to happily free fall over here. And there's going to be that. No, I think if we're going to get that move that I just talked about earlier in the video, where it's going to be a marginal low, it's going to drive everyone nuts, and then they're going to rally that thing back up. That's just how I see this whole thing shaping up. All right. But, you know I talked enough about in the video over here. We'll show some love to the other Mag 7 stocks, but I wanted to, you know, just go over. This is your key, and this has been your key. And we're in this, you know, consolidation period right here. And you're starting to break down from that. And we very well could be coming down to a new low. But tomorrow, we see what happens. All right. We see what happens tomorrow. You know, both the scenarios. All right. You gap down, you're probably going to be heading down for, you know, 104.77 over here. You're like, you see this daily RSI get down here. Don't expect it to keep falling off a cliff. That's all I'm getting at. And if you gap up, you want to see that gap and go hold. All right, you want it to be a gap and go, not a gap and, you know, let me fill and you know, come back down and fill that gap. You don't want to do that. You want to see the gap and go. You want to close this weekly candlestick somewhere up here, because if you close it here or down here, you're probably going lower the next week. This is bearish structure going on here. All right, so just keep these things in mind. Next one, I'm going to argue, is the strongest one out of all the Mag 7 stocks, and the PC is favorable tomorrow. If the market is going to favor that PC print, Apple is probably going to fly above 225.02. All right, you got this range built out by yesterday's candle. All right, the low of it is 220.47. The high of it is 225.02. You have a 3-day range here. You pop above 225. Probably going to have an equivalent move. probably going to make your way up here to 230.20. I don't have it on the chart right now, but 200 DMA is sitting right here at 228.50. All right, so you pop above 225.02. If you gap above here, pull back, retest here. There's your Friday lotto trade idea with 0 DTs. There you go. All right, if you gap up here, pull back into it. All right, you're probably going to get buyers. You're going to be above the 21. You've been consolidating between the 90 MA and the 21 over here on the daily time frame in this 3-day range for a little while now. All right, break under 220.47. I mean, if you gap down, gap down over here, start losing this level over here, 220.47, you're probably going to make it down to 218.76. And then you're not going to have anything into 215.22. On the upside, break above 225.02, we're talking 230.20. All right, Meta over here. All right, I'm still going to say this is one of my favorite dip buys over here. I'm not telling you to buy right now. Do not take it as that. I was telling you to buy over here. And, at the same time, no financial advice. But, I try and say things without saying things because that's the YouTuber way. And I don't like that way. I feel like it does have to be that way because there are definitely a lot of people who don't like to take accountability, and then they try and make the creator feel real bad about something they did. And at the end of the day, the creator is just some jolly dude that, genuinely is a good guy who just comes on here trying to share his charts. There's no malintent here. There's nothing bad about it, but people like to, they like to be picky, and it's okay. It comes with the territory. But, I'll just say over here, guys, if this thing comes down here, I don't have the 200 right now on my chart. If it comes down here and it tests the 200, which is sitting right down here, if it undercuts 580, it's going for that 200 around 570. It was $3 lower than here, all right? So, yeah, it was literally sitting at 571 when we were over here. If it comes down here, this over here is going to be your focus, okay? Apple's looking good right now. That's the one with strength. Microsoft also looking good after today, better than others. But Meta over here, if we see the weakness in the market, this thing's going to flush down to new lows, probably going to slightly undercut these lows, hit that 200, undercut it, maybe get back above it the next day, create a bear trap scenario, and all of a sudden, you have this move up to 630. I honestly think that's exactly, if we get a negative PC, that is how this would play out. All right. Again, I'm just going to say everything is already oversold. And if you come back down to new lows, you're going to have bullish divergences across the board. Meta's RSI, it could even get oversold over here. You had the bullish divergence without it being oversold over there, but you definitely got the confluence over here. So keep an eye on it if PC is negative tomorrow and we end up selling. All right. That is going to be a watch next week, because we probably go a little bit lower, but this is the turnaround potential over here on Meta. We can see this quick snapbacks. All right, but support and resistance, 608.86, 620.50, and 632. Support, 598, 580. That's all you're watching over here. Microsoft, I told you, it's looking a little better than the rest. It's not looking crazy like it was before this end of day flush over here. But it was looking pretty crazy. Excuse-moi. Above 391.79, we have 396.36, 480, and then 405.57. If the thing gets going, the thing's heading up here. The market has to cooperate. There's nothing else you could do about it. But I'm also just going to say, let's get the bear flag structure as well. Everything has this stupid little bear flag going on here. I'm just going to say, if you get that scenario, we already talked about it. You know how to take advantage of it, but you're also going to have to wait. Just don't expect buyers to magically step in right here. Wait for them to start stepping in, because if we do end up seeing, undercut the lows over here, and then you reclaim it, get a few daily close above it, it puts the odds in your favor. You actually can see things are starting to turn around. Don't just buy the fallen knife. All right. But at the end of the day, if PC, it does come in not too bad tomorrow, which I'm just going to say CPI, the last one was a beat. We'll see how this PCE is going to print. We will see. Then I think this thing could move. All right. But it has to break above 396.36, and it's probably going to just start targeting this zone up here. Okay. Now on the downside, though, I'm down to the hourly time frame. 387.92. 384.64, 381.10, and 376.91. Just because it looks pretty, guys, if the market moves down, don't think it's going to be an exception. It's not. Sometimes there are exceptions. All right? Like I'll just say. Someone mentioned a silver squeeze yesterday. I wish, today I was even focusing on the silver squeeze. This thing got a straight up bid today. There are things that, like to move up when the market's moving down. And right now, guys, you guys could see them on the screen. We got gold, we got silver over here. Apparently, there's a little silver squeeze going on. I'm just gonna say, screw the silver squeeze. This chart looks amazing. Squeeze their asses off. It looks great. All right, it looks great. But yeah, that is that. All right, now coming on over here to Goog. I'm gonna argue this is the worst looking Mag 7 stock out of all of them. You are down here to that circle. See that green circle? We talked about that the other day. I am not saying you're going to hold here. It is going to depend on that PC, but this thing looks butt ugly in my personal opinion. You can see the hourly RSI is now oversold as you come into this golden pocket. It is, all right, but at the end of the day, this thing's looking gnarly, all right? It is looking gnarly in a bearish manner over here. If you cannot hold 163.24, that's where you've been hanging on for dear life. If you lose that, all right, 161.12 and 158.80. Lose that, you're probably making a new low. That's Goog. Get over 165.57, then we're talking 168.46 and then 170.45. All right. Now Amazon, guys. Amazon the other day was leading the way over here. What did we get today? Guys? Pull back to the 9 EMA. Like, honestly, the market's in this perfect spot to go either direction. Just going to be, very transparent there. I don't want to be one of these people who I'm going to look in the comments and I'm going to see, oh, you said the market can go either way. No, guys, I was pretty clear about it at the beginning of the video. I do my best to cover the both scenarios without my bias. I do. All right. Sometimes bias shows, and that's okay. It is what it is. I will keep trying over time, and over time, eventually, it'll just be straight, no bias TA. There's that. All right. I'm putting in the reps. But, I will just say over here, underneath, bearish scenario, underneath 199.32, we're talking 195.75, and then makes new lows 190.88. Above 201.20, we'll just come over to the hourly time frame. All right, you're holding it, but you're losing the after hours over there. But above 201.20, we're talking 203.30, and then we have 206.21. If you can get above this 203.30 level, you can very clearly see where the rejection's happening here. Get above there, probably going to shoot up to 206.20 pretty quick. All right, and then from there, we're talking 210. All right, and the last guy we're going to talk about today over here. All right, I'm not going to cover the chips in this video. Actually, I will cover some chips in this video. All right, I'll just give some thoughts over there because there's one that's standing out to me. There's actually two setups that stand out to me over on the chip sector, besides what we talked about in the video. All right, but Tesla over here, guys, is showing the most strength today, and we can see it completely faded the whole entire move by the close. All right, you were looking pretty crazy. You faded the whole move by the close. If you gap up tomorrow, you wait. I mean, you don't have to wait. Do whatever you want. But you want to see it then break 288.20. If it gaps up and breaks 288.20, it's very likely not going to stall out at the same spot it stalled out twice before. All right, very close together. You actually have the 200 DMA sitting right here. Again, I don't got it on the chart, but break above 288.20 after a gap up tomorrow. And we're probably going to see 299.29 trade that day. 300 psych level incoming. Above there, 326.59. You don't have, like, this is one straight move down. Get above 300. You're coming up to 325. Now, on the downside, if you lose, if you lose 271, all right, and you start taking out 266.51, or let's just say you gap down here and you retest here. Probably going to get sellers stepping in, or you very well, you have the odds suggesting sellers are going to step in there, and then you're watching 251.84. You had a straight move up here. You don't have support underneath 266.51, so you lose that level over here. We're talking 251.84, and you better hold 251, because if you don't hold 251, you have a $30 to $40 drop probably coming within days. All right, so that's what you're watching over here. The weekly chart, you very clearly see buyers stepping in down here. very clear as day. Okay, it's going to be a big spot. If you come back down here, we honestly could even find more buyers down there. Maybe slightly undercut the low. Test that, 202 to 212 over here, and then find buyers stepping in. But in the short term, that's your game plan. Okay, you gap up tomorrow, get above 288.20. You're probably going to see the next $10 move up to 300. All right, and if you can get underneath 266.51 tomorrow, you gap underneath there. You're going to use that as resistance. You're then watching 251.84. All right, guys. So that is the bulk of what I have for you today. What I am going to point out are some chip stocks. On the downside, I'm just saying Avgo is clear as day showing, the weakness over here. But your daily RSI is coming down into oversold territory. And as we can see, it doesn't like to stay down there. I don't think we're getting much more downside. That's what I was getting at earlier. Like if you do get that, additional move down here, I think it's just going to make a marginal low. That's just my personal opinion. All right. Don't flame me for having an opinion. That's called free speech, buddy. But yeah, I mean, come down a little bit lower, you're probably not going to be moving much more. All right. But, there is a problem here. You're bouncing here. There's a 200 DMA that's not on the chart right here, but it was right here. You lost that recently. All right. So now that's going to be resistance. This is the weakest chip stock out there right now. This is it. All right. And it already, got most of the move down, which is, what makes me believe, hey, downside is limited over there, along with all the other factors I mentioned there. All right. But that's Avgo. I think downside is limited, but just know it is the weakest one. And to really, see this thing get going, you got to get it back above 196 at this point. All right. So, any bounces, expect them to be the weakest bounces of them all. Out of all the chip stocks and the Mag 7 stocks that we cover, expect this to be the weakest over here. And expect rejection at these short-term moving averages. You also are going to be retesting the 200 over here around 180. Expect rejection there. All right. Now, bullish setup. What are we talking about? And I'm not saying a short Avgo. I just want to point out that, I get questions on Avgo. I feel like a lot of people watch that stock over there. And, I was definitely very bullish on this ticker over here, Avgo. It was looking, pretty freaking nice as a reversal. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And then you had this 2-week base that built up. All right. After earnings here. And you fell down off of it. I don't know what else to say of that. You had this base that was building out and you genuinely just started breaking down. Things change and it sucks, but things, they have to get back to normal before you could start just, being uber bullish on the stock. It is getting oversold, but don't expect the bounces to be crazy. It's just not going to be a focus here on the long side. Over here, if you don't bounce back hard tomorrow, this thing looks butt ugly on the weekly time frame. This thing's rolling over. All right. You clearly see you had this setup. You also have the 200s in there that's missing from this picture. It's in right there. It looked like you were going to launch off these things. You, no, you fell flat on your face. All right. But as far as, long setups go over here, INTC finally hit the spot that we've been pointing out. It hit it yesterday, but it hit the spot we've been pointing out for quite some time now, ever since it started pulling back over here. You didn't want to hit it over here. Now you're testing that spot. All right. You have your support 2334. You have your 21 EMA, and I know again it's not on the chart right now. But you got the 200 also sitting right here. All right. This is a launch pad. I also will just point out you pulled back in this pennant wedge like structure here. Flag. If we get a positive PCE print tomorrow and the market favors that, INTC is probably going to make it so it's way back up to 25.50 to 26.50 pretty quick. All right. So that's something that I am going to be paying attention to. All right. Now, as far as weakness goes, we are talking SMCI. I know I just said Avgo was the weakest of the bunch, but I also did make it very clear that Avgo already saw its move to the downside there. SMCI over here, as one by one, the dominoes will fall. They don't have to fall, but they go one by one. And over here on SMCI, guys, this is the one showing the weakness. This is the thing that's been basing out here for, 2 weeks now. All right, 2 to 3 weeks. It's been in this range. You break underneath 34.51, we're talking 30.76, and it might even fade back down to low at $28. All right, pretty ugly weekly candle chart over here. And again, break that level there. It's timber. You're coming down. You're going kapooey. And on the upside, I'm just going to say, all right, maybe test 37.85. Expect rejection there. But don't focus on this chart over here on the upside. Just don't. It's not worth it. Come on over here to TSM, guys. I do think the worst is over. I really do. You know, this is exactly what I was talking about. You're making the new low. You got the higher low over here on the daily RSI. It's going to print the bullish divergence. It's probably going to lead to the bigger bounce. And the bigger bounce is definitely not what we just got. This was, you know, certainly just a dead cat bounce. Or we're just basing here before you really launch here up to over here. And that's, you know, another $20 to the upside from current price. We don't know which one's going to happen, but, you know, as of right now, this just looks like a dead cat bounce that took 2 to 3 weeks to, you know, get back reversion to the mean. And now you can fall back down to the low. So that's just how I'm seeing it. Again, just my thoughts in these videos, just my opinion. Bitcoin over here, still right here against this trend line. Gonna depend on, you know, how the market treats that print tomorrow. Been consolidating. It's getting ready for a big move. It's going to be either to the upside or the downside. You have the 200 also sitting right here. You're above that. You reclaimed it. You reclaimed the short-term moving average over here. You're finding buyers 2 days in a row off of them. But then you also have this rising wedge pattern right into the trend line. It's going to break one way or the other. But if it does break up, MSTR, this is the setup to be paying attention to. I drew this arrow before we came back and retested the zone. All right. If this thing could break above 340, 337, it probably, you know, has legs. It probably makes up to 356.11, 367.76. It might even go for that $400 psych level. We're going to have to see. But, you know, this Bitcoin setup over here, we've been eyeing it. All right. And I've been saying, you got to get above here. You have to get above. Once it gets above 90.7K, those things, coin and MSTR, they're likely to make some big moves. All right. But over here on coin, it's looking pretty ugly. All right. So MSTR, clear as day. You want to focus on the one strength. It's going to be MSTR. It's going to have the bigger bounces and it's not going to sell as much. All right. But over here with the weakness is coin. And coin over here, guys, you come back down to these lows. I don't think it's going to make much, you know, much new lows there. Like I said, it's looking like the same as everything else. All right. You can make these marginal new lows here. But, you know, underneath 176, you're talking 161.87. Now, as far as strength goes, guys, Uber. Uber is the one that I will say is looking very constructive. It's still looking constructive. And, yeah, don't crap the bed tomorrow. Print a nice lower wick for us tomorrow on this weekly candle. This thing's not going to be looking all that bad. You got this little inverse head and shoulders action going on here. Right here after you broke out of this falling wedge. And again, you had a very controlled sell here into golden pocket, break and retest. And now you're starting to break above these short-term moving averages and come back to retest them. And you're finding buyers off them. That's what you like to see. All right. So, like, honestly, if it takes out today's high, which is up here at 75.62, it's probably going to keep going and then take out 77.58. At that point, $81. All right. But at the same time, we just saw the left shoulder over here. It had a whole crap ton of chop. You consolidated in this range here. Then you broke down, got like an equivalent range. Who's to say we don't get another 1 to 2 weeks of chop here before moving up? Not me. All right. Obviously, I favor the upside. This is one I stayed long over here on Uber. And yeah, I think we're getting back over here in the short term. But it is going to depend if the market wants to cooperate. All right, so that's what I have for you guys in today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. And with that being said, I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.